Welcome to the Monday Money Tip Podcast presented by Fully Funded Life. Hi, my name is Joe Sengel, your host, helping you live a fully funded life, being able to do all that your heart and your mind desires, and being able to fund it financially. You know, money is a funny thing. It is a challenge. You would think that it's simple math. Income minus outgo has to equal exactly zero, trademark. That money is finite. We have income go in, we have the expenses go out, called outgo, and that if we plan it, it will go farther than if we don't plan it. Seems pretty simple, doesn't it? Except for when you throw in the fact that life happens, children happen, illnesses happen, career changes happen, layoffs happen, disabilities happen, right? When the air conditioner breaks, the furnace breaks, the roof leaks, just the appliance fails, the car tire goes flat, the car breaks down. It's very interesting, isn't it? This thing called life. You know, it has a way of costing us money. And if we're not careful, we will allow those moments, those events, those situations that happen to distract us, to allow us to bog down financially, and maybe make us believe lies that we cannot get ahead financially. And what I found in my own life, I found in the lives of many others, is that the longer we allow ourselves to stay stuck financially, the more we begin to believe a lie that it's just not in the cards for us to thrive financially, that it's just not possible for us to live a fully funded life. If we're not careful, we'll give up on our dreams. Is there anything sadder than having to give up on a heartfelt dream? Today, I'm going to talk about a principle that I created. I'm sure it's been expressed other ways, but this is one that I think I can credit to myself. It's called an IHHE moment, an I have had enough moment. You know, I really came up with this from when Mama Sengel had enough of her 6 boys. I'm the youngest of those 6 boys by about 7 minutes. Yes, I do have an identical twin. And when those 6 boys, myself included, even though I'd like to say that I was the innocent one, probably wasn't always the innocent one, that my mother would announce, and these were the final red flashing lights, the alarm bell sounding like prison break alarm sounding, when my mom would just yell at the top of her lungs, I have had enough. Let me tell you, when Mama Sengel announced that she had had enough, when you heard those famous words, I have had enough, the 6 Sengel boys got together like ducks in a row. We started behaving because if we did not, she would tell Dad. And if she told Dad, we might not remember what happened over the next few weeks because he would knock us into next month. And so it was a very interesting time growing up in the Sengel household. But I just want to speak to this moment that we all have moments where we've had enough. And I found this to be a powerful moment that really causes people to change financial behavior. I think it's been interesting over these last 4 years as we have went through what we all now call the COVID years. You know, during the COVID years, the U.S. government panicked that when they shut down everything around that March 15th timeframe of 2020, they panicked that many employers, rightly so, were going to lay off all their employees and that we would have 40, 50, 60, 80 million people on unemployment. And as a result, they passed what was known as the CARES Act. And then subsequently, they released some more cash money 2 other times. And for the average family of 4, they got somewhere around $15,000 of cash money sent to them to help them through this pandemic. Now, we can all look back on it as a Monday morning quarterback standpoint, and we did a lot of ceasing of movement around, and a lot of people didn't travel, and businesses stopped, and gatherings stopped, and a lot of crazy things happened. We can all admit that. But here's the deal. A lot of people had said, if I can just get some extra money, then I will win with money. If I could just get some margin, we could finally get ahead. Well, friends, a ton of the people who got the cash money never had their income go down. In fact, many of them experienced an increase of income. So many people never lost their jobs because of the Payroll Protection Act. And we employ people, and we were able to keep almost everyone on our staff because of the Payroll Protection Act. And that money was given to us as a business to hand out to our employees, even when they couldn't do a lot of work because the nature of our work, we weren't able to deliver our services, but it was meant to keep people on company payrolls instead of the unemployment lines so that when the business did return, it would still be together as a functioning business. And it worked for a lot of businesses, including ours. Now watch this. It was estimated that around $3 trillion went into the pockets of Americans. $3 trillion extra dollars. And as a result, Americans went on a spending spree. And it is proven in an economic theory called the quantity theory of money that when you increase the money supply, which is what happens when you hand out $3 trillion, that it will cause inflation to go up. Does that sound familiar to anybody? Well, inflation went out of control for a while. And as a result, to control it, the Federal Reserve will increase interest rates, which will thereby restrict money supply and therefore cause inflation to go back down. And I recently, in the last week, heard the news that by the end of this year, 2023, Americans, all that extra cash is going to be gone. Gone, gone. Now, you can always point to individual circumstances where people suddenly manage that money well. But for the vast majority of people, they have spent all those extra dollars. And if you go look at what they spent it on, they didn't spend it on things that are increasing them financially. The vast majority did not go say, how much of this can I invest? Can I go buy a rental house? Can I put extra in my 401k or IRA? They went and they spent it on stuff. They stimulated the economy. And as a result, now we still are stuck at around 70% of people living paycheck to paycheck. And now that excess cash, it's almost gone. It's proof that if you don't have an internal moment within you, things are going to stay the same. You must have, as Mama Sangle had, an I have had enough moment. That moment where you say, I'm not going to live this way anymore. I'm speaking to my friends who you have worked hard. Listen, you've worked so hard to have nothing left over. You've worked so many hours, so many days. I just sat back and realized about a week ago that I have been working now for 31 years. I don't know what it would be like to have worked for 31 years and have nothing to show for it. Nothing in a retirement account, very little in savings, and living paycheck to paycheck. Yet 70% of my peers are living right there. I am speaking to you today. If today is not the day that you announce, I have had enough and change behavior, what day will be the day that you will do that? What moment has to happen? What shift needs to happen? Because I can tell you that I am so grateful that my moment happened when I was 28. I had spent myself under the poorhouse. I had spent every dollar that came home plus some more. And I had student loan debt, credit card debt, truck debt, car debt, debt on my wife's engagement ring and wedding ring, the wedding and the honeymoon to Jamaica. I'd financed it all. I'd financed furniture 24 months, same as cash. And one day, I'll never forget the moment. It was December of 2002. It was December 2nd of 2002 that all of a sudden I just said, I had a fit, man. I was Mama Sangle, only I was focused on my finances. And I said, I am not going to live this way anymore. I have had enough. And when I had enough for the first time in my life, something in me shifted. Now, my bank account was the same. The money in the accounts was the same. Everything was the same around me, except for I was different. I had had enough. And as a result, my behavior shifted. In that day, I stopped being broke. In that day, I became debt-free. In that day, I was on my way to building my first million in net worth. In that day, I became a business owner. In that day, I became a purchaser of businesses. In that day, I became a funder of my big time dreams. But in that moment, things were still the same. Everything was the same except for one thing, and that was in me. Something broke, and I said, I have had enough. So my question for you, that sounds intense. I know it's an intense podcast. If you're running, you're like, is he yelling at me? I'm not yelling. Please don't take it as that. I just want something for you. If you're living paycheck to paycheck, if you have kids that are doing this, living paycheck to paycheck, you have friends, you have family members, and you care so deeply for them, send them this. Because I can't change people, neither can you. But I believe that one of the most powerful things is hearing other people's stories, because within their stories, they can find themselves. And my hope for you, my prayer for you is that if you've been living a broke to broke, paycheck to paycheck lifestyle, today is the day. Mark it down, write it down. This Monday Money Tip is the day that your future changed. But all that changed right now in this moment was everything within you, because you have had enough. I have had enough. Your IHHE moment. When you have one, things will never be the same again, and you will be on your way to living a fully funded life. What do you need to do this week? Hey, I hope you join me next week for another episode of the Monday Money Tip podcast. We are committed to helping you take your finances to the next level, all the way to rung number 9 of the fully funded life ladder. Have a great week, everybody.